It started with a scream, one of those sharp, gut-punching sounds that cuts right through a thunderstorm like it's trying to warn you of something bigger than just bad weather. I was halfway through a bowl of cereal, sitting in my living room, when my phone buzzed. Then buzzed again. Then lit up like a Christmas tree. The messages were coming fast, panicked, all from neighbors. I stood up, looked out the front window, and saw Mrs. Helms's 82-year-old neighbor standing knee-deep in murky brown water, waving her arms like she was trying to land a plane. The water was climbing her steps, fast. I ran outside without even grabbing a jacket. What I saw made my stomach drop. Water was rushing down the sloped street like a river, but instead of draining like it always had, it was pooling right in front of my house. The drain wasn't working, and I knew right away something was wrong. That drain wasn't city installed. I put it in myself 5 years ago after funding cuts gutted our stormwater maintenance. I'm a civil engineer. I know what I'm doing. That grate had been the only thing keeping our whole block from turning into a lake every time it rained. I ran to it, pulled up the cover, and nothing. No rush of air, no gurgle of moving water. Just concrete. Smooth. Cold. Gray. Someone had filled the storm drain with solid cement. I yelled like the storm might turn back time. But even over the rain, I heard the truth in my voice. This wasn't an accident. This was sabotage. Now, 3 days earlier, I'd had a run-in with Rhonda McKinley, self-appointed head of the HOA, though nobody remembers ever voting for her. She had shown up on my lawn wearing oversized sunglasses and a fake leather clipboard, the kind you buy when you want to look like you're in charge. She pointed at my storm drain and said, "It's unsightly. Looks like something from a construction zone. Doesn't match the neighborhood vibe." I tried to explain Calith that the vibe she was concerned about was also the only thing keeping her azaleas from floating away in a hard rain. That the drain wasn't just for my yard. It was the main runoff point for 3 entire streets. I even offered to show her the diagrams. But she cut me off with that signature fake smile voice and said, "Well, I've got a guy. He does curb beautification. I think we'll just smooth it over." I thought she meant landscaping. I thought Solano one's dumb enough to pour concrete into a storm drain. I underestimated Rhonda. Her guy turned out to be her nephew Kyle. Kyle once worked construction for 2 weeks, quit, and now tells people he's a contractor. And apparently, a few buckets of quick-set concrete and a YouTube video were enough for him to feel qualified to seal off a major drainage line. So now I'm standing in ankle-deep water. My garage already smells like a swamp. Mrs. Helms is yelling. The Wilkins driveway looks like a canal in Venice. I sprinted through the mess to Rhonda's house and banged on the door like it owed me money. She opened it wearing a satin robe, holding a mug that said, "World's Best HOA Leader," completely unfazed. "You filled in the storm drain," I shouted. "You blocked the whole system." She blinked, sipped her drink, and said, "Oh, that? It was ugly. I thought I was doing everyone a favor." "You're welcome." I could feel my brain trying to process the sheer absurdity of her words, but it just short-circuited. I told her flat out, "You've committed vandalism. This is a city-regulated utility line." She rolled her eyes. "It's just rain. It'll dry." Except it didn't. It got worse. The water rose fast. Garage doors warped. One neighbor's car alarm kept going off as the floodwater lapped at the tires. Kids were wading through the street in plastic bags tied around their sneakers. I pulled up the drainage map on my tablet, something I have easy access to thanks to my work, and confirmed what I already suspected. That drain was the keystone. Designed in the late 90s to catch runoff from a slope-heavy subdivision and push it into the city's larger water control system. Block it, and the water just loops back and floods the lowest elevation. My house. Mrs. Helms's. The entire east bend of the block. I called the city. They said they couldn't send anyone for at least 48 hours unless it was a declared safety hazard. I told them, "We've got an elderly woman whose oxygen machine is about to get soaked. Does that count?" After a pause, they said they'd escalated. In the meantime, neighbors started gathering, angry and wet, some with buckets, others just pacing. Chris, who lives 2 houses down, shouted, "She's gonna pay for my floorboards." Someone else yelled, "I just finished my basement." And Rhonda? She'd retreated into her house, blinds drawn, peeking out every few minutes like she was waiting for trick-or-treaters, not an angry mob of soaked homeowners. Her silence made things worse. Then the cavalry arrived. A city truck pulled up, headlights cutting through the downpour. 2 workers stepped out, clipboard and drill in hand. One of them looked at me and said, "You the guy who reported sabotage on a drainage line?" I nodded and pointed to the curb. You're standing in it. They surveyed the flood, whistled, and one muttered, someone's about to have a real bad week. The next morning, the water had receded just enough to see the full extent of the damage. Lawns ripped up, soggy furniture lining the sidewalks, and not a single drop of water near Rhonda's house. Her porch was dry as a bone. The yard sign she put up months ago, proud HOA advocate, now read like the punchline of a bad joke. City workers came back with a full crew, jackhammers, saws, even legal documents. I asked one of them, Dave, how long this would take. He rubbed his neck and said, minimum 2 days. Maybe longer, depending on how deep the concrete goes. You're billing her, right? I asked. He smirked. City will, once legal finishes with her. Word spread fast. The city launched a full investigation. Someone found the video Rhonda had posted days earlier, her nephew Kyle pouring concrete while she giggled in the background, saying, no one needs this trashy old drain. We're going for curb appeal. The city attorney called me personally, asked for a formal affidavit. They had probable cause, now reckless endangerment, interference with public infrastructure. I signed it without hesitation. Not for revenge, but because people were hurt. Mrs. Helms's oxygen machine had nearly failed. A kid had fallen on a submerged sprinkler head and cut his leg. All for some woman's ego. At the emergency HOA meeting that weekend, the place was packed. Rhonda sat near the front, flanked by her usual clique, though a lot fewer of them this time. Mr. Donnelly, the HOA president, tried to keep the peace, but it was like holding back a dam with duct tape. One neighbor stood up and shouted, she didn't just damage property, she endangered lives. Rhonda tried to defend herself, said she was trying to enhance the neighborhood aesthetic, and claimed she didn't know the drain was functional, that she thought it was abandoned. The room practically groaned. Then Donnelly held up a city-issued notice. Official seal. Charges listed in bold. He looked Rhonda dead in the eye and said, you don't get to talk anymore. We're voting. And just like that, by a roomful of raised hands, Rhonda was suspended from all HOA activity permanently. She was banned from decision-making, from representing the community, from so much as suggesting a mailbox color. The lawsuits came next. Chris filed first, citing damage to his garage. Then came Dawn, who had mold in her walls. Even Mrs. Helms joined in, citing emotional distress and the failure of life-saving medical equipment. It turned into a class action. I helped coordinate the evidence, screenshots, timestamps, photos, engineering analysis. It was my job, after all. Unintentionally, I'd become the lead witness. And Rhonda? She didn't even try to fight it publicly. When Halloween rolled around, hers was the only house without decorations. Everyone else had embraced the irony. One house set up a haunted Karen drain display with fake fog and a sign that read, beware the HOA curse. Even the mayor stopped by and took a picture. Eventually, she moved. Quietly. No farewell, no goodbye. Just one cold morning, a truck came, loaded up her boxes, and drove away. Someone replaced her for sale sign with a handmade one that read, concrete-free since November. A younger couple bought the house. Friendly. Normal. They brought cookies to the block party and joined the HOA like actual adults. No clipboards, no power trips. I still keep a piece of the concrete slab in my garage. Not out of spite. As a reminder that one person's ego can cause a flood, but a community, when it stands together, can stop the damage from spreading. Sometimes, the thing that holds a place together is a drain. Strong, functional, and unblocked. If you've ever had someone like Rhonda in your neighborhood or worse, in your HOA, drop your thoughts below. Who was right? Who crossed the line? And what would you have done if someone poured concrete into your future? Let's talk about it.